Yo, I know why you're watching this video. You're watching this video because you want to hear about the next big Cosmos chain as early as possible. Today, I'm gonna bring you not one, not two, not three. I'm gonna bring you 10 brand new Cosmos layer 1s. Some of them just launched mainnet, some of them are still coming up, and some of them you might not have even heard about. We're going to be starting very smooth. The first chain is Noble. Noble just launched mainnet as a POA chain, which stands for Proof of Authority, which basically means they launched with a permissioned validator set. And Cryptocito, my validator, is actually one of these validators. And the purpose of having that design in the beginning is that eventually Noble will migrate as a Cosmos Hub consumer chain. That means that Noble will consume shared security from the Cosmos Hub, which is the chain on which Atom resides, and therefore accrue value directly to Atom. That said, Noble does not have its own token and instead leverages the Cosmos Hub and Atom token at some point in the future, right? This is still in the planning, we're still in early days, but the Noble mainnet just went live. What does Noble actually do? Noble brings native assets to Cosmos, and that is a big game changer for our ecosystem. It was just announced a few days ago, the arrival of USDC. Circle stablecoin is coming to Cosmos through Noble. That means potentially this could open the gates for massive liquidity to come natively to the Cosmos ecosystem, while also decreasing bridge risk, right? Because as of right now, the biggest liquidity that we have for stablecoins, especially USDC, comes through axelar. So there is a certain risk attached to that. The original idea for Noble actually came about sometime in summer of 2022, and it was first announced publicly actually at Cosmoverse, which I'm also the co-founder of, in late September of 2022 in Medellin, Colombia. The founding team is Jelena and Stefan. I think Jelena you're all quite familiar with if you're active in the Cosmos ecosystem. The chain is actually being built by Strangelove, and Zaki Manian, who's also a core cosmonaut, is one of their advisors on their board. Accounts to follow, I strongly recommend you to follow Jelena, Stefan, and also the Noble XYZ Twitter account. The next chain that is landing in Cosmos is Arkeo. Arkeo network was previously called Fox Chain and is now turning into a own sovereign app chain built on the Cosmos SDK. It's actually being built predominantly by the Shapeshift DAO team. So Michael Perklin was in Shapeshift OG, the team which was co-founded also by Eric Voorhees, who is one of the biggest proponents of crypto worldwide, very well-known guy. Also John, and Torchain co-founder or core contributor Chad Barraford. I actually just had an interview with 3 of them here on my YouTube channel, which you can watch right here after watching this video. And Arkeo is basically building a data indexing blockchain that is set to launch quite soon. They also will do an airdrop, which we have talked extensively about in my interview with them. And what they're trying to resolve is that the current issue is that decentralized interfaces and node data has become even more of a prominent problem across crypto, right? So for DeFi applications, predominantly to access on-chain data. That's a pain point which Arkeo aims to resolve. It's basically a backend for all node data. Arkeo will have their own coin, as I described, that will also do a 25% Genesis airdrop. Accounts to follow would be Michael Perklin, John, Chad Barraford, Eric Voorhees, and also obviously Arkeo Network on Twitter. The next project on my list is Babylon Chain. And Babylon is a project that leverages Bitcoin security for consumer chains. So it also is a form of shared security that just improves and enhances the underlying security and economic security, and also with it attack vectors for any Cosmos chain that connects and implements Babylon's solution. Babylon actually has a origin story that goes back to Stanford University. David Se, who is one of the professors there and has his own lab as well, has been researching there, and also Ming Chao, Fisher Yu, who is his other co-founder. They have been developing this project along also with a group of researchers and students. And what Babylon eventually will resolve is that it, number one, will reduce bonding times for proof-of-stake chains to less than 5 hours without compromising security. And that's a big change because right now, bonding time for Atom, for example, is 21 days, for Juno 28 days, and for Osmosis 14 days. So from weeks to hours, that's a big change. Also, you can bootstrap new zones that have a low valuation, a low economic valuation of their network, because that eventually is what makes economic security of the chain. So Babylon aims to enhance that, and also it improves censorship resistance. Babylon is a Cosmos SDK-based proof-of-stake chain that has 50 validators and will also have consumer zones. It implements Bitcoin timestamping, so Babylon aggregates checkpoints from zones and sends it over to BTC. The Babylon chain is basically a middle layer because it is a Cosmos zone in itself, but it provides this checkpointing mechanism to Bitcoin, and Cosmos chains that connect to Babylon are basically called consumers of security, or consumer chains or consumer zones, as we also know them from Cosmos Hub shared security. As of my understanding, Babylon will have its own native token. I think it's still very, very early stages, but they're currently in testnet. Mainnet launch still TBA. They also first came to life basically publicly and out of stealth at Cosmoverse in late September of 2022. So those that have been to Cosmoverse, they pretty much are already aware of Babylon chain, and their go-to-market is basically to launch on Osmosis first, and also other chains are in discussion, such as Akash Network, Juno, Injective, Say Network, Stargaze, Secret, Stride, and many more. Accounts to follow are David himself and Babylon Chain on Twitter. The next chain is Saga. Saga have been a frequent guest on my YouTube channel, actually. I think already for the second or third time that I had Rebecca Liao on my channel. Saga aims to build is basically a gaming and entertainment hub in Cosmos, which is currently a huge void in our ecosystem. Because right now, most games that want to build in Cosmos, they don't have an app chain where they can easily deploy that, because it would be optimized for gaming and entertainment, right? So you see a lot of the games, they either don't even get started in Cosmos, or they migrate away to Polygon, for example, right? But Saga aims to fix that. It first came to life somewhere in 2021 or 2022. Co-founders are Rebecca, Jacob, and Jing Kwon. Originally, I think Saga has been incubated by Tenement, which went through some iterations and is now called AIB, All in Bits. Saga itself is a Cosmos SDK-based POS chain that has dedicated sidechains, aka chainlets, where every Saga chainlet is secured by mainnet validators using this shared security. Saga will have its own native coin, and there will also be an airdrop. So be on the lookout, be active, be part of the testnet once it goes live. Right now, Saga already has 166 projects in their innovator program, which is a lot. And most of them are actually games, right? So that's really cool. They also have a partnership with Polygon and Celestia. There's going to be a lot of interesting synergies with other ecosystems as well. Accounts to follow are Rebecca, Jin, and of course the Saga XYZ account on Twitter. My fifth project on the list here is Archway. And Archway might launch sooner than some people think. Estimated mainnet launch is actually scheduled for sometime late May, right? Always count with certain delays in crypto. This is just a rough estimate. But what Archway is building is basically a smart contract platform that implements CosmWasm, but it has built-in developer incentives. So it's kind of this next level of smart contract platform that makes it very appealing and attractive for developers that have strong product market fit with their applications to also be rewarded. And the purpose is basically to realign developers with the chain itself through proper in-protocol incentivization. So there will be gas fee splits, inflation reward shares, and also custom premium smart contract fees. Archway will have also an airdrop for the Atom community. This is my personal understanding. I don't think they have publicly shared this yet, but they have teased it and rumored it a lot. The Arch token will be distributed to cosmonauts via an airdrop. Accounts to follow are obviously the Archway account on Twitter. Sixth chain on my list is Berachain. And Berachain is very interesting because they are an EVM compatible Cosmos SDK built chain. They have originally explored to build on Ethermint, which is the tech stack that was provided and shipped by Darcis, the company behind evmos. But they wanted to make certain changes, so they just entirely built their own EVM stack that is compatible with Cosmos chains from scratch. And what came out of this is Berachain, which is a DeFi-focused EVM-compatible chain secured by a novelty, which is the proof of liquidity consensus. And what Berachain sets apart from other EVM chains in Cosmos, such as evmos, Canto, or Kava, is that they have innovated Polaris. Polaris is a general-purpose blockchain framework that enables the integration of the EVM into any underlying consensus layer. Its current iteration has been optimized for the Cosmos SDK. This was announced on March 6th of 2023. And what they also do, they implement a tree token system, which I think is a very interesting experiment. So their thesis is that a chain basically needs three things. First, a gas token, second, a governance token, and third, a native stablecoin to transact in. Bera is what their native staking token is called, will earn you Bera, I guess from inflation rewards, and also non-transferable BGT, which is the governance token, and holders of BGT will earn proportionally Honey, which is their native stablecoin, from protocol fees. And for accounts to follow, definitely make sure to follow Smokey the Bera and Berachain on Twitter. My seventh chain on this list is Anoma. And Anoma is a privacy-first blockchain that is built on the Cosmos SDK, but it's actually built on Rust. So that's going to be very interesting. One of the few Rust chains in Cosmos. And Anoma came to life sometime in early 2021. Co-founders are Adrian Brink, Chris Goes, as far as I could see, and Ava Sun Yin. Chris Goes is very interesting because he's also been one of the core contributors to shipping IBC itself. Anoma brings a set of innovations when it comes to privacy. I'm not going to go into detail here. Maybe that's a topic for a separate discussion, but I think it's very interesting. They're currently in the testnet phase. There are also not yet any details in terms of the tokenomics, in terms of an airdrop or timelines of launch. But as far as I understand, their Namada network, Namada mainnet, is going to launch sometime in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that. Follow Adrian Brink, Anoma, and Namada on Twitter. The next project on my list is Quasar. And Quasar just went on mainnet actually. We have been also doing an interview with Vallejo here on his channel very recently, which you should check out. And what Quasar does is it's basically a decentralized asset management app chain that supports IBC. So what you can do in Quasar is you can build your own vaults, you can define certain DeFi strategies, and especially in Cosmos, where you don't have one coin that basically benefits from an IBC explosion, you can invest in different coins by just investing into one vault. The problem they're solving is DeFi fragmentation and complication, especially in Cosmos. Those vault strategies directly simplify that and fix that problem. The UX and UI to invest in Cosmos, in the Cosmos ecosystem, is much, much easier like that. The chain itself is a Cosmos SDK chain. Cryptocito is also in the active validator set on mainnet, so you can delegate your QSR tokens once there's liquidity, because right now Quasar is not buyable. You can't get it on an exchange yet. There will also be an airdrop, as far as I understand, for early testnet participants. So stay tuned for that, especially if you've been participating in the testnet. Accounts to follow are Valeo, Lil Quasi, and Quasar on Twitter. The second last chain on my list today is Prism. Prism is an Xterra project that is going to launch their L1 blockchain that is dedicated to the harvesting, trading, and utilization of yield. So this is a DeFi protocol that is now coming to the IBC economy with their own layer 1. The project was first launched in January of 2022 on Terra, just 5 months before Terra collapsed. And it is going to relaunch, actually announced the relaunch on Cosmos in December of 2022. Prism is a Cosmos L1 that is going to also deploy outposts, which is a very interesting concept in Cosmos, primarily using ICA, interchain accounts, and they will have a lot of DeFi primitives baked into their protocol. So this is very interesting. The native token Prism is primarily there to stake, which means to secure the network. There's a 1 billion Genesis supply, of which 20% will be airdropped to Prism validator delegators. So Prism also has its own validator. I know validator-specific airdrops are quite controversial, but that's also probably to compensate a little bit for people that might have been wrecked on Terra. Prism itself had a TVL at the peak of $800 million on Terra. I'm always excited to see such protocols come to Cosmos. Accounts to follow are Mr. Refractor and Prism Protocol on Twitter. My final project here on this list is Landslide, and I've mentioned Landslide here and there in the past. Landslide is basically an Avalanche subnet that brings IBC to the Avalanche world for the first time. I think that's very exciting. They're basically merging the Cosmos SDK with the Avalanche SDK, which also means IBC basically out of its home and explores also other ecosystems. The project was founded sometime in 2022 by Nathan Windsor. Landslide itself is an Avalanche SDK built subnet that implements IBC as well as CosmWasm. It replaces the Tenement consensus with the Avalanche consensus, which means ultra fast. As far as I understand, I think Avalanche has sub-second finality, which is really cool. And what's special about their chain design is that Landslide validators also have to be validators on the AVAX mainnet. There's no clarity yet about having a native coin. It could also be AVAX, the native coin of the Landslide protocol, but we have to wait and see. Also in terms of mainnet launch, accounts to follow are Nathan Windsor and Cosmos AVAX on Twitter, which is the handle for the Landslide network. Now, I hope you enjoyed the list. I hope there's maybe some projects that you have not had on your radar before watching this video, and you can conduct your own research from here. I hope you also might be receiving some of these native coins in form of airdrops, and that's it. Subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe and be good.